What if Boba Fett was Force-sensitive? Before the Battle of Geonosis, a secret simmers that could shift the tides of power. Boba Fett, a child not yet scarred by battle or fame, begins to show signs of Force sensitivity. His father, Jango Fett, a name synonymous with skill and fear across star systems, sees the potential and peril of such power. In a universe torn by the strife of Jedi and Sith, Boba's abilities are a wild card. Jango, aware that his son's gifts could draw dangerous attention, embarks on a dual path of mentorship. He trains Boba in the lethal arts of bounty hunting while teaching him to veil his Force sensitivity from all. This knowledge, a shield against those who might seek to use or annihilate Boba for their gains, becomes their shared crusade. As the galaxy stands on the brink of war, the Fetts navigate a precarious existence. Boba, armed with his father's lessons and a hidden strength, steps into a destiny that is uniquely his own, one that could alter the balance of power in the cosmos. As the sands of Geonosis swirl in battle, the galaxy is forever altered. Jango Fett, legendary bounty hunter, meets his end at the hands of Mace Windu, leaving behind a legacy and a son, Boba. The loss ignites a fire within Boba, an anger so profound it resonates through the very fabric of the Force. His grief, uncontainable and raw, begins to erode the barriers he and his father had meticulously built around his hidden powers. Unable to suppress the storm of emotions and the burgeoning force within, Boba becomes a beacon for those attuned to its waves. Count Dooku, ever watchful for tools to tip the balance of power, senses the potential in Boba's untamed strength. With a strategic mind, he orders Boba's return to Serenno, envisioning the boy not just as a pawn in the galactic conflict, but as a formidable weapon under Sith guidance. On the bleak and austere world of Serenno, Boba Fett finds himself at a crossroads, fueled by grief and the burning need for vengeance. Despite being in the heart of Sith influence, Boba's disdain for the war and its architects runs deep, blaming them for the loss of his father. When Count Dooku presents an offer of revenge against Mace Windu, Boba's initial impulse is to refuse. He believes in his own path to vengeance, one that doesn't require allegiance to the very forces that orchestrated his father's downfall. Dooku, ever the manipulator, challenges Boba, suggesting Windu's strength far exceeds what Boba can handle alone. In a demonstration of power and a test of Boba's resolve, Dooku provokes him into a confrontation. Boba, driven by raw emotion and the unyielding desire to prove himself, launches an attack with a blaster, only to have Dooku effortlessly turn the shot back at him. Undeterred, Boba escalates the assault with grenades, then a desperate melee charge, each attempt thwarted by Dooku's mastery of the Force. It's in this moment of ultimate vulnerability, suspended in Dooku's grip, that Boba's latent Force abilities surge to the forefront. Dooku's lightning, meant to subjugate, instead awakens the storm within Boba. Pain and rage coalesce into raw power, and for the first time, Boba retaliates with Force lightning of his own, breaking Dooku's hold and marking the awakening of a formidable Force wielder. The silence that follows is thick with revelation. Boba, touched by the dark side's potency, stands on the precipice of a path he once rejected. Dooku, recognizing the potential in Boba's newfound power, extends the offer to mentor him in the ways of the dark side. Faced with the allure of strength that could ensure his revenge and fearing no other way to match a Jedi Master's might, Boba accepts. This decision sets him on a dark journey, far from the simple path of a bounty hunter, into the depths of the Force and the ongoing galactic conflict. Boba Fett's training under Count Dooku was a trial by fire, a relentless forging of a young boy into a weapon tempered by the dark side. At merely 10 years old, Boba's potential was a raw, unshaped force, powerful but undisciplined. Dooku, with his aristocratic cruelty and precision, saw in Boba both a project and a tool. He understood the necessity of time and pain to sculpt Boba into a being capable of challenging Mace Windu, a Jedi master of unparalleled combat prowess. The training was brutal. Dooku, a master of manipulation and control, introduced Boba to pain not just as a consequence, but as a teacher. Each lesson was a harsh encounter with his limitations, each failure a lesson in resilience. Dooku's methods were unforgiving, designed to break down any remnants of the child Boba once was and rebuild him as a conduit of dark side power. Pain became the crucible in which Boba's will was tested and tempered. Through this grueling process, Boba learned to channel his suffering into strength. Each strike, each moment of agony, and every harsh word from Dooku taught him to harness his emotions, anger, hatred, fear, as sources of power. This was the essence of the dark side, to draw from the deepest wells of pain and transform them into unbridled force. Yet despite the darkness that enveloped his training, Boba's spirit remained unbroken. He was not just enduring, but evolving, his resolve hardening with every lesson. The pain that Dooku believed would bind Boba to him instead forged a warrior with a will of Dura steel, one who would not easily bend to the will of others, regardless of their power. As years passed, Boba's mastery of his Force abilities grew, as did his skills in combat and strategy. Yet beneath the surface of the dark side adept Dooku was crafting, there remained the core of Boba Fett, unyielding, independent, and burning with a desire not just for vengeance, but for a place in the galaxy that was his by right, not by Dooku's design. This journey through pain and power was but the first chapter in Boba Fett's legend, a testament to the resilience and complexity of the galaxy's most feared bounty hunter. At the tender age of 13, Boba Fett had evolved far beyond the ordinary bounds of those his age, not just in the skills of a bounty hunter taught by his father, but in the potent and perilous ways of the Force, under the tutelage of Count Dooku. His growth in power was exponential, a testament to his latent abilities and the harsh lessons learned through pain and anger. Dooku, leveraging Boba's personal vendettas and inherent strength, honed him into a weapon of formidable power. Yet this intense period of growth and learning came to an abrupt end. The galaxy, ever in flux, delivered a stunning blow. Anakin Skywalker, a Jedi Knight of unparalleled skill and destined for a dark and momentous future, confronted Count Dooku. In a decisive battle, Skywalker ended Dooku's life, leaving Boba once more adrift in a sea of loss and vengeance unfulfilled. Boba's connection to Dooku, though complex and forged in the crucible of dark side training, was the closest thing to guidance he had after his father's demise. Isolated once again, Boba found himself at a crossroads. With Dooku's death, not only did he lose a master, but also his protector. Dooku had kept Boba's existence a secret, shielding him from the gaze of Darth Sidious, who would have undoubtedly seen the young Fett as a threat or a tool to be manipulated. This secrecy had been a double-edged sword, preserving Boba's autonomy but also leaving him without allies or a clear path forward in the intricate web of galactic power plays. In the wake of these tumultuous events, Boba, now truly alone, was forced to rely on the skills and instincts honed by both his father and Dooku. The lessons of survival, combat, and the manipulation of pain into power were deeply ingrained in him, yet the absence of a mentor left a void. With no one to guide or challenge him, Boba's path was his own to choose. Fueled by a deep-seated hatred for the Jedi, who Boba Fett believed were responsible for all his losses, his confidence in his burgeoning powers reached a zenith. The pain of losing both his father, Jango, and his mentor, Dooku, at the hands of the Jedi forged a singular obsession in Boba. Vengeance against Mace Windu, the symbol of his anguish. With the cunning and ruthlessness honed by years of training and survival, Boba set his sights on a daring and perilous plan, assassinating Windu within the sacred confines of the Jedi Temple itself. Utilizing his knowledge of Jedi practices and the temple's layout, a legacy of Dooku's tutelage, Boba crafted his disguise as a youngling. His youthful appearance aided his infiltration, allowing him to blend seamlessly among the temple's inhabitants. The very audacity of his plan served as his cloak, for who would suspect a child, much less in such a hallowed place? As darkness enveloped Coruscant, Boba made his move, slipping through the shadows with a heart pounding with purpose and a mind clear of doubt. Every step within the temple's halls deepened his resolve, each moment bringing him closer to the culmination of his years of pain and rage. His preparation and familiarity with the Jedi ways paid off. Boba encountered no resistance as he navigated the labyrinthine corridors to Windu's quarters. With the bomb planted, all that remained was the wait, a test of patience and nerve. Boba had turned his back on the possibility of capture or death, driven by a singular desire for retribution. As Boba Fett moved away from Mace Windu's quarters, intending to distance himself from the imminent explosion, a profound disturbance in the Force halted him. This sensation, dark and powerful beyond anything he had ever felt, tugged at the very core of his being, compelling him towards the heart of the Jedi Temple. What he discovered was a scene of unimaginable horror. The very institution he sought to undermine was already collapsing from within. Order 66, a directive Boba had never heard of, was unfolding before his eyes, executed by the clone troopers, his genetic brethren, against the Jedi. The orchestrator of this massacre was none other than Anakin Skywalker, the very Jedi Knight who had ended Count Dooku's life. Boba watched, concealed by shadows, as Skywalker led the clone troopers in their merciless purge. The sight of the man who had killed his mentor, now slaughtering the Jedi he had once sworn to protect, twisted something deep inside Boba. His mission of vengeance against one Jedi paled in comparison to the wholesale betrayal and slaughter now before him. Boba's presence didn't go unnoticed for long. The clone troopers, upon spotting him and mistaking him for a youngling of the temple, called out for his capture. Boba turned and fled, his heart racing, as the familiar sound of blaster fire echoed behind him. Every turn seemed to bring him face to face with more clones, each corridor a maze that offered no escape, until, by chance or fate, he stumbled into a room hiding a group of younglings. These children, terrified and confused, looked to Boba for guidance, not knowing who he was or the complexity of his connection to the events unfolding around them. In their eyes, Boba saw a reflection of his younger self, lost, alone, and surrounded by forces seeking to control or destroy him. As Boba Fett stood among the frightened younglings, a sudden silence fell over the room, a quiet before the storm that seemed to hold its breath. Then, the door slid open with a foreboding hiss, and in the doorway stood Anakin Skywalker.